Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Thursday, November 26th, 2020, and today we're going to be taking a look at a 2020 presidential election prediction between the turkey and the ham. So, we're going to be looking through a number of statistics to take a look at an analytical point of view as to who would win each individual state. Now, Senator Turkey comes from the state of California, so of course he's going to start off with a pretty large electoral college advantage with 55 electoral votes from that state. I mean, it's a pretty conservative state to say the least, and I think that the Turkey could actually do pretty well given some of their recent comments at the presidential debate. So I think California would be a solid win for the Turkey party here. But for the ham, we do have another powerhouse in terms of the electoral college vote. We have Texas. The ham is from the state of Texas, one of the biggest exports of pigs. And overall, this state overwhelmingly votes that way, at least in my prediction. But we actually need to take a look at the two candidates side by side. So here they are. It's pretty important to note that they are favorites amongst the general American electorate, but you also have to realize that there are a number of people that support third-party voters. We actually have one of our final polls here that show the turkey and the ham roughly even. Now, the turkey typically takes the lead, as we can see in the last national popular vote poll from the Daily Journal. This poll was actually taken exactly last year. We haven't really seen much funding, but the turkey overwhelmingly defeated the ham in our last presidential election poll by nearly 14%. And that's pretty significant just because of the fact that that is a very large electoral popular vote margin. But as we all know, the popular vote isn't always an extremely good indicator of the actual results. So you see that the turkey and ham are in around third of the American electorate's minds, but you also have to see that bologna, salami, chicken, and beef are all very popular items as well. This is a very large portion of the electorate that isn't too happy choosing the lesser of two evils. So you also have to realize that both candidates at some point are going to have to make up their margins by winning over these third-party voters. That 5.7% of other also doesn't help just because that doesn't really ID who they would be leaning towards, what type of meat, what type of industry they would be happy with. So overall, it's kind of a tricky subject for these candidates to tackle. But what we've seen in the recent debates is that both of them are pandering overwhelmingly to a certain side. And as we can see, in terms of where Americans view each meat for Thanksgiving turkey, is the overwhelming amount just because based off of millions of pounds, which is why ham is actually going to have to make up some of the margin with some of these voters. But let's go ahead and get started into some of these more solid states. We don't really need to focus too heavily on them. They're kind of obvious. The top 10 states with, ham exports, we have the states of Illinois. That is number 4 nationally. Nebraska, number 6. Ohio, Oklahoma, and Kansas. So around this region, we're actually going to see some solidified support for the ham just because of the fact that they really haven't been able to do as much outreach to the West Coast. The Turkey Party has really solidified a lot of their campaigns here. They've been running candidates in local elections for quite some time now. And also the Wild Turkey, combining with the regular Turkey Party, has also solidified their base in this region. When we're talking about the Great Plains region, yes, you would expect the red previously red section of the party before the Democratic and Republican parties dissolved, but previously red section of the country actually has moved over into the ham column with the exception of North and South Dakota, but we'll get to that in just a moment. But these are all of the solid states for the ham candidate. For the ham candidate here. But for the turkey candidate, we actually see that Arkansas, neighboring to the state of Oklahoma, is safe. Safe orange. The next state is Virginia because it is close to the District of Columbia. You do have to realize that Turkey's influence does pour over into the Northern Virginia region. And like I already characterized, California. So we're around even in terms of electoral count. The ham has 20 more electoral votes, but neither of them are close to 270. So let's get ahead and take a look at some of these more data-driven numbers. So this is where we actually saw the turkey production in 2019. We saw that in all of these states, we had millions of turkeys being exported and being produced for the average person. So I think this is actually going to help Turkey in their presidential election bid. Number 1 is Minnesota. I really think that shows interest in the state. They've been holding a number of rallies there, a number of people at the supermarket lining up to hear them speak. Or actually maybe not even hear them speak, just to eat them. The next state would be North Carolina. Number 2 nationally, definitely a lot of outreach. Virginia and North Carolina sometimes vote together. This is one of those cases. Now, Illinois and Ohio in previous elections have voted differently than Indiana. This time, Indiana does the same thing, goes to the Turkey Party. And then Missouri, actually, which was one of the larger exports of ham, number 7 nationally, is actually number 5 for Turkey. So they actually see a little bit more support there. So I'd actually consider that to be a little bit safe for the Turkey Party. And then, we have to come down to the state of Louisiana and characterize it for the Turkey Party. Now, what's surprising is that Iowa, which is on the top 10 Turkey list, is also on the top 10 list for the U.S. states by inventory of hogs and pigs of March 2020. So Iowa is actually number 1. I'm going to have to give that one to the ham. So now that we've characterized all of the safe states, let's move on to some of the more closer states. These are states that we typically see both candidates spending a lot more time in than the rest. Some of these safe states are only used for fundraisers and raising money on both sides through different meatpacking companies. But overall, what we've seen is that the turkey has really won over support, especially being native from this country, really won over support across this southwestern region of the United States. We saw Nevada actually move over into the turkey column. Same thing in Utah, Colorado, and Arizona. Now, New Mexico is a little bit iffy. New Mexico has a very weird dynamic, but I think it could narrowly go to the Turkey Party, just because of the fact that it is kind of difficult for me to see how Turkey could win there. I only expect it because of Turkey's recent bump in the polls, 14 points up nationally, but it's still kind of difficult to see how New Mexico could vote that way. But again, I'm not going to argue with the data. Now, over in Alaska, like I said, Turkey is native to this country, so I'd actually characterize it as likely given the recent population growth in that state. And Hawaii, I'd also characterize as likely. But both of these states, disconnected from the continental United States, actually have surprisingly large amounts of the turkey population, so that really helps because we saw these demographic groups, the turkey vote splits roughly 90-10 in favor of the turkey almost every election. So that's not really surprising, which is also why we see a solidified portion of this region in the United States. As for the ham, though, they are going to do well in some parts of the Northeast. Unfortunately for them, just the Pilgrim endorsement has really helped turkey up in the Northeast. So I'm actually going to have to characterize some of these states. Massachusetts, surprisingly, has gotten a lot closer than recently because of its liberal ideology, but a lot of these states are actually likely for Senator Turkey. Now, Maine at large is actually pretty close. I would characterize the entire state as pretty close. It's going to get narrower, but for right now, I'd say that the Turkey Party wins there. But in New York and pretty much across the Rust Belt, we actually see pretty large amounts of support for the ham party. When we're talking about where we actually see a lot of the exports, it is around this region: Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Iowa, this region of the United States that typically votes together. And when you think about the Rust Belt region as well, you also have to realize that a lot of these voters in the white working class are going to resonate with someone like the ham, not someone who comes across as a Northeastern elite, someone who has old money compared to someone who has new money, not someone who has had generations of wealth in their family compared to someone who's relatively new to the wealth stage. Both of them are extremely wealthy, hold very large industries in the United States, but I think that this actually helps the ham win over this region of the United States. So I'd say it's likely, it's winnable for the turkey, but I don't think that it's too probable at this point. Now, New Jersey, Delaware, and Maryland, the outreach is kind of trickled down from the Northeast, but ham still holds strong in these states. It's narrower than before, but overall, I think that the ham is going to do pretty well. I mean, these 3 states in particular, pretty large in electoral count, and also the ham has been pouring millions of dollars in Maryland, in Delaware, in Illinois. In fact, they've been receiving more money out of the states than they've been putting into it. So we actually see a little bit of a positive reaction from these states. So I'd actually characterize these 3 states as lean for the Green Party here. Actually, not the Green Party, I guess the ham party, but they are green in their color. So where does that put the 2 candidates? Well, we're at 202 to 205. And then when you're looking at the wild turkey, this is native to the United States. It's not easy to paint the turkey as an outsider. I mean, very much so an insider, but in a very positive way. Knowing the American roots, being able to be here for such a long period of time and able to resonate with a lot of these voters, especially in areas that are predominantly rural, areas that are very much spread out. And these are the very large inland states. We're talking about Montana, and we're talking about Wyoming, and North and South Dakota. Now, this region actually was very solid for the turkey. If you asked me 8 years ago, I would have said you were crazy if I told you the ham was going to be winning, any electoral votes from this region. But I would say North and South Dakota are still holding on, not super strongly, but still holding on. And also just the residual support from California has poured over into certain regions of this, rightward part of the United States, the more western frontier part. But overall, it's solidified for the turkey. It puts them at 240. Now, the turkey's running mate actually comes from one of the southern states, from the state of Alabama. And I think that Alabama is going to vote for the turkey, but not too heavily. What we've seen across the Bible Belt is we've actually seen a surge of support for the ham candidate, which is exactly why the ham is actually going to do pretty well in the state of Georgia. I think it's going to be a likely state. And if you're looking at where we see a lot of the wild turkey hunting states, we see Georgia, number 2. They're really not going to want to support a candidate that they are going to be actively hunting. I mean, ask yourself, if you're going after someone, are you going to vote for them as well? It doesn't really make sense. You also see that, surprisingly, Missouri is on there, but for whatever reason has a very interesting dynamic. Alabama, I think that just the home state effect really helps. Pennsylvania isn't voting for them. Wisconsin isn't voting for them. But Tennessee, I don't think this helps the turkey candidate there either. It's 11 electoral votes, and I don't think that they are going to win it. I think it'll be narrow as Gore and Bush were in 2000. But I think Tennessee, with its 11 electoral votes, will go to the ham party. So that puts them at 229. The turkey's at 249, and we have roughly 60 electoral votes left. Like I said, the turkey does pretty well amongst the D.C., Northern Virginia region, but unfortunately, they just haven't been able to flip this region. It's narrower than before, but not a single turkey candidate in United States history, and you can quote me on this, has never won D.C., and I just don't think that they're going to end up winning D.C. this time around. So D.C. likely for the ham party, Georgia likely as well. This is actually where ham candidate Hillary Hampton got in 2016, so this state, 232 electoral votes. Vice President Ham has reached that number from 4 years ago. But we still have 57 electoral votes left to go. West Virginia hasn't been really involved in the whole turkey ham debacle. It's been pretty solid for the turkey throughout the entire campaign season. We see a lot of coal working here. Coal and turkey smoke well together. That's fine. It ends up voting for the turkey overwhelmingly. By a likely margin, we're looking at 12-13%. So double digits, not safe, but still a pretty solid margin, to say the least. Now, there are way more pigs than there are turkeys in the United States, but the American public does favor turkeys, at least what we've seen based off national data. So I'm actually going to have to characterize the turkey, the winner, in Mississippi. I don't think that, yes, there is a surge of support for the ham in the Bible Belt, but I don't think it'll be enough to overcome the solidified support, the grassroots support we've seen for the turkey in this region. And also South Carolina hasn't always been too favorable to, the ham candidate in the past. House candidates here haven't really performed too well. Not a single ham candidate has won in the House of Representatives in South Carolina in a few decades. Overall, I think that the turkey is going to end up winning there. But I could see the ham candidate doing well in Kentucky, regional advantage, in Tennessee, just having that part of the mountain region helping out, putting Kentucky in the ham column. And then the final state is actually Florida. And this state is weird. It's like no other. I mean, you can find countless things happening in Florida. You can Google your birthday and type in crime and see what actually happens in Florida, because they have laws that require them to disclose every single part of things happening. So Florida seems to be very weird. There's a number of things there that are very interesting. But if you're looking at the top 10 list here, and you're looking at where, the wild turkey hunting states are, you notice that Florida actually isn't on this map. However, I don't think on that list, I don't think that's enough to overcome the support that we've seen from the predominantly older population amongst ham, whatever it may be, clinging on to older generations, clinging on to what was in the past. The turkey has very much built their campaign as a representation of the future. It's been very difficult given how long the turkey has been established in the United States, nearly 4 centuries. But also, over 4 centuries, but the new turkey, nearly 4 centuries. And they've been trying to distance themselves from that old money, that that old type of thinking, and try to push themselves as the forward candidate. But that really isn't working well in Florida. So I think the ham can actually win the state of Florida. I don't think it'll be by a lot, but it'll still be a victory regardless. So we actually finish off with a tie. It looks like the House of Representatives is going to have to vote on this one, and also the United States Senate. It finishes up 269 for the turkey, 269 for the ham. Overall, an electoral tie. Take a look at the regions, though. Look at the West Coast, solidified for the turkey. That's not too surprising. Look at the entire, region where I'm circling here, solidified for the turkey. But if you peer over just a little bit more, you will see that there's this little bit of a curve shape where we see a lot of support for the ham candidate right there. A lot of population in a number of these states. We see New York, Texas, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Ohio, Georgia, Florida, Michigan, a lot of populous states. Where turkey does well is where we see a lot of wild turkeys, a lot of open area, a lot of open land, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, and it also helps that their home state is California. But if you're looking at where the ham does well, it seems like a lot less land mass, but that's because they are way more condensed. We see a lot more support in urban regions. We see a lot more support in larger states. That just could be the fact that rural states are much more happier with the turkey candidate compared to ham states, but the ham candidate actually went over some more rural states. So it really all depends where you're looking at. It makes sense, though. I mean, you can't really be surprised too much by this map. It would be the same type of map we would see if we were talking about just a little bit over performance for Hillary Hampton in 2016. So not too surprising. It's just unfortunate that it would actually have to go to the House of Representatives, and now the House will be voting between a ham and a turkey, and then also a turkey and a ham, actually, because the turkey's running with a ham and the ham's running with the turkey for bipartisanship. Really doesn't help them either, but we're likely to end up with some type of combination of a ham and a turkey, or a ham and a ham, or a turkey and a turkey, or really, I don't really know where to go for from there, but the United States Senate and the United States House of Representatives are going to move over. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and if you couldn't tell this was a joke video, I don't know if I need to explain that to anyone. I really hope I don't need to, but happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for every single one of you guys. It's really great that you guys are out here, and if you're watching this, instead of going to your Thanksgiving dinner or spending time with family, go do that instead. Well, it's the end of the video, so that doesn't really help, but make sure that you're spending time with your family if you can. Be safe. If you weren't able to visit them, call them. Let them know that you're thankful for them. I'm thankful for every one of you guys. You guys mean the absolute world to me. Again, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you all later today.